Most men were never taught how to express emotions, they were taught how to suppress them. From childhood, they hear phrases like man up, stay strong, and don't be weak. So they learn to hide fear, bury sadness, and silence vulnerability. But emotions don't disappear when ignored. They build pressure in silence. And over time, that silence starts destroying the very relationships men care about the most. A man can provide, protect, and stay physically present while emotionally disappearing at the same time. The problem is, many men don't even realize it's happening. They think staying quiet avoids conflict. They think shutting down keeps control. But emotional distance creates confusion, loneliness, resentment, and eventually disconnection. Partners stop feeling understood. Conversations become colder. Love turns into survival. And what once felt close slowly becomes emotionally empty. This is not just about relationships failing. It's about generations of men carrying emotional weight they were never taught how to release. Because when a man cannot express what he feels, he is left to express what he feels to others. It doesn't stay trapped inside him quietly. It leaks out through anger, withdrawal, stress, frustration, and self-destruction. The cost is far greater than most people realize. And the most dangerous part, many men wait until they lose someone they love before they understand that emotional silence was never strength. It was fear disguised as control. Boys are rarely taught how to understand emotions. They are taught how to survive them in silence. From an early age, many men learn that vulnerability makes people uncomfortable. When a young boy cries, he is often told to toughen up. When he feels fear, sadness, or insecurity, he quickly realizes those emotions earn less respect than confidence and control. So he adapts. He starts hiding disappointment behind humor, stress behind anger, and emotional pain behind distance. Over time, silence becomes part of his identity, not because he lacks emotions, but because he was conditioned to believe expressing them could cost him acceptance, admiration, or love. Women often experience the consequences of this conditioning without fully seeing where it began. They may look at a man who shuts down emotionally and assume he does not care deeply enough, when in reality he may care so deeply that he fears exposing what he cannot explain. Many men were never shown healthy emotional language growing up. They learned how to provide, compete, achieve, and protect, but not how to communicate emotional needs without feeling weak. This creates relationships where both people feel misunderstood, the woman feeling emotionally disconnected, and the man feeling pressured by emotions he was never trained to process openly. Many men grow up believing strength means staying emotionally untouched no matter what happens around them. They learn to admire the man who never breaks down, never reveals internal struggle. So emotional control becomes a performance of stability. A man may be overwhelmed, exhausted, anxious, or deeply hurt, yet still convince himself that remaining silent proves maturity. What he does not realize is that suppressing emotion is not the same as understanding it. Real emotional strength requires awareness, honesty, and the ability to communicate difficult feelings without losing self-respect. But many men were taught that expressing emotion risks losing authority, respect, or masculinity, so they choose emotional distance instead of emotional openness. Women often interpret this emotional restraint as coldness or lack of emotional investment. They may feel shut out by a man who appears calm on the surface while internally carrying pressure he cannot explain. The tragedy is that many men genuinely believe they are protecting the relationship by staying controlled and unemotional during conflict. They think silence prevents weakness when it often creates disconnection. Over time, unresolved emotions begin showing themselves indirectly through frustration, irritability, avoidance, or emotional withdrawal, leaving both people trapped in a relationship where feelings exist deeply but communication slowly disappears. Most men do not shut down during conflict because they do not care. They shut down because they feel emotionally cornered. In difficult conversations, many men experience pressure differently than women often expect, while women may. Seek emotional clarity through discussion. Many men experience intense emotional conversations as a threat to their sense of control, competence, or stability. The moment emotions rise, their mind shifts from connection to protection. Instead of expressing fear, confusion, guilt, or insecurity, they retreat into silence because silence feels safer than saying the wrong thing. Many men were never taught how to stay emotionally present during tension, so withdrawal becomes their automatic defense mechanism. Women often interpret this silence as rejection, indifference, or emotional laziness, which makes the conflict even more painful. The more emotionally disconnected a woman feels, the more she pushes for communication, reassurance, or explanation. But the more pressure a man feels to respond emotionally in a way he does not fully understand himself, the more he shuts down internally. This creates a painful cycle where both people are fighting for connection in completely different ways. One partner seeks closeness through conversation, while the other seeks safety through emotional retreat, leaving both feeling unseen, unheard, and emotionally exhausted inside the relationship. Attraction does not disappear in one dramatic moment. It slowly fades in the space where emotional connection used to exist. Many men believe love is proven through loyalty, responsibility, hard work, or physical presence. And while those things matter, relationships also depend on emotional or intimacy. When a man becomes emotionally unavailable, the relationship may still look stable from the outside, but underneath, distance quietly begins to grow. Conversations become shorter, vulnerability disappears, and emotional reassurance becomes rare. A woman may stop feeling emotionally chosen, even if the man still deeply loves her. The relationship shifts from genuine connection into routine coexistence. Women often lose trust long before they lose love. Emotional distance creates uncertainty because people naturally trust what feels emotionally open and honest. When a man constantly avoids difficult conversations, hides his emotions, or withdraws during emotional moments, it creates confusion instead of safety. Many men do not realize this because they associate trust with loyalty and commitment, while women often experience trust through emotional transparency and consistent communication. Over time, unresolved emotional gaps begin affecting attraction itself. What once felt emotionally magnetic starts feeling lonely. Resentment quietly replaces curiosity, and both people begin feeling disconnected not because love completely disappeared, but because emotional closeness slowly stopped existing between them. Anger is often the only emotion many men were socially allowed to express without shame. Sadness looks weak, fear looks fragile, and vulnerability feels dangerous, but anger feels powerful. So over time, many men unconsciously translate emotional pain into frustration because it feels more acceptable than admitting they are hurt, overwhelmed, anxious, or emotionally lost. What people often see as aggression is sometimes unresolved emotional pressure with nowhere healthy to go. A man carrying silent stress from work, relationships, financial pressure, or personal insecurity may not even recognize how emotionally exhausted he has become because he was trained to ignore emotional signals instead of understanding them. Stress becomes dangerous when men believe they must carry everything alone. Many men grow up associating value with performance, how much they provide, achieve, endure, or sacrifice. The problem is that this mindset slowly convinces them that asking for emotional support makes them a burden instead of a human being. So they isolate themselves emotionally while pretending everything is under control. Women often notice the emotional change long before men admit it themselves. They see the withdrawal, irritability, emotional numbness, and lack of presence, but many men struggle to explain what is happening internally because they were never taught emotional language beyond silence or anger. Self-destruction rarely begins with dramatic collapse, it begins with emotional neglect repeated every single day. Many men distract themselves instead of confronting what they feel. Some bury themselves in work, others escape through addiction, constant entertainment, emotional detachment, or destructive habits that temporarily numb internal pressure. From the outside, they may still appear functional, disciplined, or successful, while internally feeling disconnected from themselves, their relationships, and their sense of purpose. Everything changes when a man realizes emotional expression is not weakness, it is responsibility. For many men, the hardest battle is not external pressure, but the internal war of trying to carry emotions they were never taught to process. They learned how to stay productive under stress, how to hide pain behind composure, and how to appear strong even when emotionally exhausted. But suppressed emotions do not disappear with time. They shape behavior, relationships, confidence, and mental stability in ways most men do not notice until the damage becomes impossible to ignore. A man who cannot express what he feels often becomes trapped inside his own silence, slowly losing connection with the people who care about him most. Courage begins the moment a man stops viewing vulnerability as a threat to his masculinity. Emotional expression is not about losing control or becoming emotionally dependent. It is about developing the ability to communicate honestly before frustration turns into anger, before stress turns into emotional numbness, and before distance turns into loneliness. Many women are not asking men to be perfect communicators, they are asking for emotional honesty. They want to feel trusted enough to see what a man truly carries internally, not just the controlled version he presents to the world. When a man learns to speak openly about fear, pressure, insecurity, disappointment, or emotional pain, he begins to understand the true nature of his feelings and experiences. Relationships stop feeling like emotional guessing games and start becoming emotionally safe spaces for both people. Healing often begins when men understand they do not have to suffer silently to prove strength. Emotional expression allows men to release pressure before it turns destructive. It improves relationships, deepens trust, strengthens self-awareness, and creates emotional stability that affects every part of life. Many men spend years trying to protect their image while quietly destroying their peace, never realizing that the ability to express emotion may be the very thing that saves their relationships, mental health, identity, and future.